Namaskaran NFL. Okay, I'm gonna. Uh, Namaskar and welcome to NFL Masala. I'm your co-host Anant.
And I am your other co-host, Ruckshuk. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 30 of NFL Masala, where we talk about all the latest happenings in the NFL with a little bit of spice. How are we doing today, my man?
We're good, man. We're almost done with the NFL regular season because this week we're gonna be breaking down what's going to happen in Week 18 on the road to the NFL playoffs and
A
recapping what happened.
correction,
in
folks, a
week,
tumultuous Week 18. And it is going to be there's so many storylines. If you wanted Bollywood acting, this is where it's at. Week 18, every single marble is going to be fought for. We're going to have wars. Screw Game of Thrones. Screw Bahubali. This is where it's at.
Yes,
You
sir.
want the Mahabharata war or something like this? This is where it's at.
Yep. Some wars are going to be going down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of which, some Dhamakadar news. We might have a war in terms of what happens with the future of the Jets organization.
Oh, yes. Lead the way.
You've got the old guard in Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and Joe Douglas, who are most likely going to be fired. But are they going to be fired? Are they trying to, what are they trying to do there? Are they trying to, get everyone together for one last hurrah, push everything, push all their chips to the table for next year? Or is it going to be, burn everything down, maybe have like 4 players and then just sell everybody at the deadline during the offseason and then just regroup? That's the war that we're going to have with the Jets organization, because right now it's a pivotal time for the Jets organization. Nothing they've done since 2010 has worked out, whether it's drafting young quarterbacks, whether it's bringing in veteran quarterbacks and building up a defense for a bridge for a bridge quarterback. But yeah, nothing has really worked. It's mostly just wandering aimlessly through purgatory. That's what the Jets have been doing for the past decade and a half. So now it is absolutely pivotal for them to choose the next move carefully. And I think that goes all the way in terms of burning down the front office, right? Getting rid of the executive office as well. Choosing an actual good candidate for president of football operations, and then hiring the right GM, hiring the right head coach.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple candidates. They're talking to a couple candidates like Mike Vrabel and Rex Ryan.
Yep. I heard Ron Rivera's name being floated around as well.
Yeah, but I don't think Ron Rivera is a good head coach. He's a good coach for an ascending team, not for a rebuilding team. I think you need someone who's going to establish a sort of winning culture. And, Rex Ryan did that for a couple years for the Jets, reaching consecutive AFC championships in 2009 and 2010 with freaking
Mark Sanchez, the
as
Sanchez, aka the guy who was responsible for the butt fumble and all that. But then again, I also heard a very interesting rumor. I thought it was Eagles rumor as well. They apparently were trying to sell out to get Howie Roseman.
Exactly.
And no chance in hell.
Yeah, I don't think Jeffrey Lurie is gonna allow that to happen.
Jeff Lurie's gonna give him a hefty ass contract.
Yeah,
and there's no way. And I mean, Howie Roseman saw one of his old teammates, Joe Douglas, be in that shit organization, and look what happened to him. He got fired, and because we know who the real GM is, which is Aaron Rodgers, and now we have to. And now it's like, Howie, my guy, see, you're fine here. No need to go. That's no bueno for you.
Yeah, I think initially they had made the right move in getting Joe Douglas because he was from a good GM organization, right?
A
In the Eagles.
Super Bowl winning organization. I have to
Right.
agree with that.
So he was a good GM candidate at that point, but I think he made two crucial mistakes. One is giving up on Robert Saleh too quickly, and two, allowing Aaron Rodgers to play through his injury. Now, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would actually have given up the control that he has, or if Joe Douglas had any sort of control, or maybe it was just Woody Johnson pulling everything from behind the curtains.
Yeah.
He's the Wizard of Oz, basically, but obviously he's not good. So we don't really know the entire situation there. But in this case, it seems like both the Cowboys and the Jets are in a similar position. And that is they have owners that are meddling in the affairs too frequently.
I would say more like incompetent owners. Like, I mean, Jerry Jones, I don't know what's keeping him alive. I think there's like a Lazarus pit in Frisco, Texas. And same thing in New Jersey with Woody Johnson and the Maras. And by the way, I also need to ask that the Maras need to fire Joe Shane
Yeah.
for multiple.
Have you seen the amount of interviews and videos that have come out from Hard Knocks of them, interviewing Jaden Daniels when they had the chance, and they didn't take him because of some stupid ass reason, and now Jaden Daniels is the offensive rookie of the year and a potential MVP candidate, right? In his rookie year, and has basically set the Commanders franchise for the foreseeable future, right? So they're definite, but I think what the organizations like the Jets and the Giants and even the Cowboys, what they need to learn from are organizations like, so surprisingly, organizations like the Commanders and the Lions. Those two organizations were shit 5 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, right? But they had a vision of at least like a 3-year plan, and they had the patience and the fortitude to see it through. That's what these guys need to have, is they need to have the patience to go through the lulls to come out victorious. I mean, like, you look at what the Lions did, right? They didn't invest in shiny pieces. They invested in the lines. They built through the trenches. That's exactly what we say.
Building through the trenches is God's work. I love it.
What do the Jets have lacking?
They have no trench.
They have no trenches. Like, they have a good, left side of the offensive line, but that's often injured, right? So that's basically it. They need to develop more offensive linemen, and Aaron Rodgers is unfortunately not a viable starting quarterback now, but he can still be a good backup. Now, obviously, that's the ideal scenario. That's that's whatever.
Yeah,
that's more of a conversation for the offseason. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Jets do. They have interviewed Mike Vrabel, or they're going to interview Mike Vrabel, so we'll see what the outcome is for that. I don't know if it's the perfect fit for them. I think Mike Vrabel would be a better fit for the Raiders, because I mean he fits the culture more. And I think if you bring in someone like Mike Vrabel, it can entice Max Crosby to stay, because it can show that you have a mindset, that you have a winning mindset. Whereas in the Jets organization, you need someone who's going to completely revitalize the entire offense.
I agree with you on that. I think it also, again, as much as I like defensive minded coaches, if you're gonna go for a defensive minded coach, like let's take Vrabel for example, and I'll keep it short. You said this, and I think it needs to be stressed 100%. You have to have a very, very, very to the power of infinity times double it, triple it. I don't give an F about it. I made a rhyme. I didn't know I committed a crime because that's how I lime. That's how I drop them dimes. I'm joking. Yeah, and then I mean you
It's
need to have a
already NFL Masala. We got some rhymes there.
oh god. Let's all right. Where was I? So strong defensive minded coach. You need to have a very good offensive coordinator.
Mhm.
That's what it takes. I mean, I'm gonna as much as I hated the Commanders. Cliff Kingsbury is at this prime position. I heard that he's getting head coaching interviews, which should not happen.
Who?
Cliff Kingsbury is getting some. He said that he got reached out by the Bears, and I'm like, no, keep him away from head coaching, leave him as an offensive coordinator, and that's where he's excelled at. And and I'll say this: I mean, to the Jets, if you want to be competitive, do the right thing. Don't do stupid. That's my golden rule. That's the NFL Masala golden rule. Don't do stupid and build through the trenches.
That's easy for us to say.
Yep. No, we are gurus, by the way.
Yeah,
Just so you
exactly.
know.
Yeah.
And by the way, like us very recording this, I know I have like Instagram on one other side, so I want to say as I'm angling this way, what's up to the Swoop Boys Pod? Shout out to Cozy, Rico, Coach, and Twizzy, aka Rico 2.0. Oh yeah, and yeah, that's fine. Anywho, moving on with the second bit of news. Shall I go ahead?
So for you, I think we have a one bit of news coming out of the Bengals, right?
Oh yeah, we do actually have news for the Bengals right now. Apparently, Jermaine Burton did not travel with the team to play against the Steelers right now, and he's missing this game. I don't know what happened. It was a coach's decision. And the fact that he's the primary kicker when you're trying to go, you're trying to make a playoff run. Well, at the same time, you need the Dolphins to lose and the Broncos to suddenly collapse. I mean, that's the last thing you want. You need all hands on deck. That's the thing. And apparently he did not play after. I think like one time. This is the latest misstep for him. He was a healthy scratch in week 9 because he missed a walkout throughout the game. He told the rationale for the decision. There are a lot of positive things. And then late business, he just got to handle business the right way. There's something about his character concern. I'm not going to get more into the details on this one, but not having your like all your players and your assets when needed, especially when you're trying to make a playoff run, not good.
But I think he was also out because of disciplinary reasons, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
like not so good. You know, like how we're like how like Indian guys are like,
it's not good, but this is more on Jermaine Burton.
That's more like for both sides. I mean, for the Bengals, yeah, it sucks that you don't have all your weapons, and for Burton, don't you effed up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, man, but you got to rectify it ASAP. You better pray that the Bengals beat the Steelers right now. And by the way, score according to ESPN, 10-7 Bengals Cincinnati. They have the ball, 2nd and 11. They'll keep monitoring and give you scoring updates one way or another.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Alrighty, so third bit of news. And this is unfortunate coming from the Packers, especially since we're pushing for the playoffs now. Jair Alexander is out indefinitely. He's been put on IR because he suffered a PCL tear on his knee several weeks ago, and they were trying to after the Bears game where he played like 10 snaps and then he had to retire. At the end. Yeah.
I'm sorry about this, but I have breaking the Makidar news. Derrick Henry, he's finished the season with 1,921 rushing yards, meaning Saquon Barkley is taking the rushing title for the first time in his career.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Ravens, you want to talk about it? Derrick Henry is shit compared to Saquon. I'm sorry.
You kidding me? He had Lamar Jackson, bro. Lamar Jackson took out like 900 rushing yards.
I'm joking. Go ahead.
No, but
I have to say my piece.
yeah. No, watch Derrick Henry win Offensive Player of the Year. No, I don't think that's happening. Yeah, but Jair Alexander being out for the Packers for the rest of the playoffs is unfortunate because he was the main guy that we have had for, you know, for the past several years. I mean, he's an all-pro cornerback for a reason. He's an all-pro cornerback for a reason, and when he isn't injured, he is a top 10 CB because his man coverage abilities is just insane. He's a sticky cover corner, and he has really high football IQ. So even when you do have zone coverage, he is pretty adept at understanding those defensive coverages. But the problem with Jair has always been his injuries, especially since 2021. It has been his injuries. And unfortunately, we're seeing that come to fruition again, where his injuries are going to cost him a playoff run. And potentially, this may be the last season that he plays for the Packers because he has a $17.5 million cap hit next year, of which we save about $7.5 million, theoretically. So there's going to be a tough decision that comes during this offseason, whether we continue to have Jair Alexander on our team or we try and trade him to some other place, try and get some draft capital, or some other compensation that way. But it's sad because this year, like all the haters out there, especially NFC North fans, really love to hate Jair Alexander, especially Vikings fans. Right? Every time we bring up Jair Alexander, they're like, "Oh, the guy who has ducked the Vikings for the past 2 years and his best play is like in 2022." No, that's not the problem. The problem is that he's been injured. And this guy tried to play through a PCL tear on his knee during the Bears game, but we prevented him from doing that. And just to show this season what the Packers' pass defense has been with Jair and without Jair. With Jair Alexander, the Packers are allowing a 61% completion percentage, 77.5 passer rating on the field with Jair. Without Jair, 70.7% completion and 95.3 passer rating. So it's a massive difference not having Jair Alexander on the field. That's like if the Eagles were to lose Quinyon Mitchell, they have one good corner in Cooper DeJean, and that's it. Like there's everybody else that you can target. Having Quinyon Mitchell on the field is what allows Vic Fangio to create coverages that restrict defenses. Same thing with Jair. Having one person to lock down like a quarter of the field, especially with Xavier McKinney, that was one of the reasons why Jeff Hafley's defense was so successful.
Right.
So not having Jair Alexander is going to be huge, considering 3 of the best teams in the NFL are going to be in the NFC. You have the Eagles, the Lions, and the Vikings. And unfortunately, the Packers most likely will end up with the 7th seed, which means our first play, our first game is going to be against the Eagles in Philadelphia for the wild card.
Beautiful.
So
and I heard, and I did hear from some people, like including Helene, like one of my contacts from Fort and John, we might be playing a Saturday game. Even better.
There you go. So
I hate it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is sad and there's not much we can do at this point. It's a tough situation, and I don't know how it gets resolved in the off season. Tom Grassi had a great video going in depth into the Jair Alexander situation and the possible conclusions to this situation. So go definitely check that out. But yeah, I don't know what to do. I mean, it's going to be a huge loss for us. Now we do have Carrington Valentine, who on the season has been top 15 amongst PFF rankings for cornerbacks in terms of passer rating allowed on the entire season. He's been top 15 amongst in the entire NFL. So he's been really good, and he's like a 7th round player a couple years ago. So yeah, we'll have him on one side, Keyshawn Nixon on the other side. And what I'm going to get into later. Big breaking news. The Bengals recover. So the Steelers fumble on the punt return, and the Bengals recover on the 33-yard line. Steelers, man. They're the Packers of the AFC. Actually, no,
you know what I'm about to say? Tonight
on days of our
Steelers. Or tonight on What the F is Special Teams. Or tonight on Hold My Liquor. Yeah. And with that being said, the last bit of news is that we have, and I quote, the Pro Bowl rosters, the league's top best players. See why I do quotations? Because some of the list, I'm like, whatever. I mean, so far, what's a big shocker is that, like, there are some teams that have, like, that already have, like, the most number of teams. Like, the Ravens lead the way with 9 players. MVP Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are in them. The Detroit Lions have 7 players. Vikings and the Eagles have 6. The only teams that did not have a Pro Bowler are, and I quote, the Miami Dolphins, the New Jersey Jets, the Tennessee Titans, and the New Orleans Saints. So, I mean, and the Pro Bowl games will be played on, they'll be scheduled on February 7th, the 2nd at the Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Tune in on ABC, ESPN, and a 7-on-7 flag football game. Might as well get ready for 2028 LA. Who knows? In case the United States has to face Lithuania or Liechtenstein in the flag football gold medal championship, who knows? We may need Joe Burrow or maybe Jordan Love, because who knows? Those Liechtenstein players look really, really strong, man.
Bro, I swear to God, if America loses the sorry, excuse me.
Especially to Japan, like even rising countries like Japan of all teams. Japan has a really good football culture, by the way. And for those anime guys like myself, read the manga Ice Shield 21. I recommend it. They have a quote from Daryl K. Royal. I think you'll like it. Ice Shield 21. I recommend it.
Sorry, I have the hiccups right now.
No, you're fine. And I think, like, and here's my take on this one. I'm going to go in a mini bit of a Rukshak rant. Pro Bowl is overrated as hell. I don't get the point of it ever since I like the skills competition and all that, but I mean, flag football, really? We're here already? Make it competitive, man. I mean, if you want it to be competitive like they did back in the old days, have the Pro Bowl before the playoffs or something like that. I don't know. Or before the conference championship games. Maybe I'll say this. I got a controversial one. Remove the Canton, the Hall of Fame football game that they play at Canton. Or, no, correction. Put the Pro Bowl in Canton, the birthplace of football. That's where I would go. No, I mean you could put it anywhere else in the world. Make it like a one for all for one, goody goody two shoes. I want the Pro Bowl in Canton. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. With the Pro Bowl, I think it's there were so many snubs. Like AJ Brown did not get in, but Zay Flowers got in. Um, and well, I mean, you can only have three wide receivers, I think, from the NFC side.
Yeah, there's too many of them. I was like really
So
surprised on it, but I'm like, huh, interesting.
yeah, and also Rashawn Gary somehow got in as a defensive end, even though this has been one of his worst years on record, and he has like 4.5 sacks on the entire season, and he's 30th or 32nd in pressure rate on the season.
Yeah.
So it's insane that he got in, but other players like I don't know, Jonathan Grenard. I don't know if he got, excuse me,
I don't know. I'll
if
check
he
that
got
out
in or
later.
not, but yeah.
And but also I will say this. Speaking of the Eagles side, I'll just say this for like 2 minutes. I'm so proud of this roster that we have built. I mean, we left the year with Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey, two Pro Bowler guys,
Hall of Fame players.
Hall of Fame players. And by the way, congratulations to Jason Kelsey on his first episode of his talk show that late night. It's on YouTube now under Jason Kelsey's YouTube channel. And I found it, and his first guests were the rapper Lil Dicky, Brian Baldinger, ex-Eagles O-line and famous for Baldy's breakdowns. Check this out. And of course, the legend himself, Charles Barkley. I watched the show and I thought it was really fun. I really liked it. And I know it's a rough episode, but you know what? This is what it is. Take it in stride. But speaking of which, from Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox, I looked at the roster, and some of these members I see, Cam Jurgens. I mean, he was a center who was picked up to be Jason Kelsey's replacement back in 2022 draft. I'm like, what the hell is this move? And he's actually had a good season. I mean, he's not going to be like Jason Kelsey, but he's doing pretty damn good. And of course, replacing Fletcher Cox with Jalen Carter, aka the baby Rhino. My God, that is so freaking deal. And I gotta talk about it. How the hell did we get a gem in Zach Bond? I expected him to be a third string linebacker behind Devin White prior to the signing. And now that we've seen him play, I'm like, dude, Howie Roseman, what the hell are you doing? Extend the man, pay him his incentives, because with Bond playing excellent coverage and whatnot, Nakobe Dean playing a full healthy year, God forbid, Nakobe Dean's able to show why he was drafted. And his talent in Georgia, being not only a great captain, along with players of Jordan Davis, Jadon Carter, Nolan Smith, Devontae Wyatt, Quay Walker, Eric's, I think Javon Bullard, right? And like that Georgia defense. Nakobe Dean being that spiritual leader and whatnot, and him being able to be that blitzing linebacker that he is, running sideline to sideline. But because of Zach freaking Bond, Nakobe Dean has had a good year. And I'm like, Howie, pay the man. And I'm not surprised with Saquon Barkley and Lane Johnson. But Landon Dickerson, I was surprised. I did not expect that to happen. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we focus on the one mantra. Build
through the trenches.
Repeat that 3 times for effect. Those that know mantra chanting.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let's move on to the week 17 recap. And that's going to start with us Packers. Another key loss to a key NFC opponent.
Can I say something really quickly? I'm sorry. You had one job. Damn it, Packers. Can we
know.
not trust you with anything?
I know.
And I'll
I
show you
know.
why the frustrations are there. Had the Packers won against the Vikings, it would have been a three-way tie between the Lions, the Vikings, and the Eagles, having a little bit more for the Vikings and the Lions to lose on. The Eagles would have got the number one spot, but no, you screwed up everything.
Yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately for us, unfortunately for you, we don't play for you. We play for us.
Okay.
And
I'll
sadly,
remember this.
for you, our time has come because back in 2010, when we won the Super Bowl,
You
we
came
were
to
the
Philly.
same exact situation. We were a 10-6 wildcard team. Our first game was on a road team. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna bring this up because the comparisons are uncanny. Super Bowl Packers schedule.
Oh boy, I'm not gonna like this headline. Packers were road warriors. I remember that 100% for sure.
So here's the postseason. First week was against Philadelphia when we beat y'all 21-16.
Yep, the Kevin Cobb game. He was supposed to be our starter, but then in comes Michael Vick, and he somehow made our season memorable, especially with the miracle in the new Meadowlands.
The second game was against Atlanta, which we potentially have so basically it's the NFC South, right? So in our situation now, if we end up the 7th seed and you guys end up the 2nd seed, that means
It's gonna
who's
be
playing
confirmed
4th
second
and
seed, yeah.
5th? Most likely it's going to be either the Bucks or the Falcons facing off against the Lions or the Vikings. And if it's the Bucks, man, I am hoping that the Bucks face the Lions and the Bucks defeat the Lions. We defeat the Eagles in wild card. We then go to Tampa Bay and defeat the NFC South opponent. And that means our conference championship is most likely going to be the Minnesota Vikings, which is the NFC North opponent, because in 2010, we faced Chicago in Chicago to go to the Super Bowl. So things are lining up right now for us to go on our Super Bowl run. Also, it's been 14 years since 2010, which coincidentally, 2010 was 14 years from our previous Super Bowl victory. So it seems like every 14 years we're going to get to the Super Bowl, win it, and then have heartbreaking playoff losses for the next 13 years. See our quarterback become an all-star Hall of Fame player, and then go to the Jets. Like we are going to fulfill this destiny for as long as the situation persists. So this is my hopelessly optimistic outlook right now. Everything is going on track.
This is where I say to folks, this is why you don't do drugs. This is why you don't go on ayahuasca. You end up like my co-host Anand. I mean, good Lord, dude. I think they broke you.
Also, this is the first time since 2011 that the Packers have allowed, or second time since 2011 that the Packers have allowed the fewest points per game since 2011. And in 2010, our defense was injury riddled, which is exactly where it is right now. And if you remember, Charles Woodson was unavailable for the Super Bowl, who was our CB1. Now, Jair Alexander is probably going to be unavailable for the Super Bowl if we get there as our CB1.
Who's your CB1 again?
Jair,
but who's the guy replacing him? Eric Stokes?
Most likely it's either Keyshawn Nixon or Carrington Valentine.
Okay, I'll say this. Carrington Valentine has to be your CB1. That dude's
he is. He
is he's a magnet for the balls. Like, for footballs. Just saying, folks.
Yeah. So, hey man, it's coming up. It's coming up. It's lining right up for us to run through, get to the Super Bowl. Most likely we'll face the Chiefs because that is what it is at this point. And then we'll win. We'll win. That's just the way that it goes. See, we have to lose in the regular season so we know where our weaknesses are, and then rectify everything for the playoffs and surprise everybody and whack them in the face. Because then we'll have the Eagles, who we lost to in the first week because that field was trash and Jordan Love was injured for the final drive. Then we lost to both Minnesota and Detroit 2 times. So now we're 0-5 against the top 3 teams in the NFC. So that means we're probably going to face the Eagles in the first week. We're probably going to face either the Lions or the Vikings in the second round. And then we're going to face either the Lions or the Vikings in the conference championship. So lining right up for us to run through. Now, I'm going to be serious, and I'm going to be serious. This loss just shows that, all the haters out there, all you NFC fan haters, first of all, fuck you. Second of all, we're not frauds, okay? You have to realize that we're probably going to go 12-5 with the youngest team in the NFL. And our 5 losses are on an average of 4.4 points per game. And only 1 loss that was more than 1 score. That was to Detroit in Lambeau. So when we get to the playoffs, which we are because we've clinched a playoff berth, nothing matters anymore. And that's more of the realistic side of me, right? When you get to the playoffs, we almost made it to the conference championship last year with Joe Barry as our defensive coordinator after defeating the supposedly indefensible Cowboys at home. Whoop their ass 42-16 or 48-16. I don't care what the final score is. It was over at 48-16.
48-32 for those that are.
Yeah, it was over at 48-16.
No, for those that are still into stat padding and all that.
Yeah. And then lastly, we almost beat the Niners except on the last play, right? So the fact that we were close last year means that we can get there again this year. And I just think that Jeff Hafley and Matt LaFleur are not done yet cooking. I mean, we've seen the creative aspects of Matt LaFleur, right? He's when he's on, there's nobody better. There's almost nobody better. Except maybe 3 guys, and that's Sean McVay, Ben Johnson, Andy Reid, right? Like those are the 3 guys who are probably better offensive coordinators and play designers than Matt LaFleur when Matt LaFleur is consistently great. Now, he has ebbs and flows like anybody. He's not as great of a coordinator as Andy Reid is, nor is he as great of a coordinator as Ben Johnson is. And this season has proved it. Right? There's been many times where, especially during this game, where there were terrible play calling moments in the first half. And there's an entire drive where it was 3 and out because it was just 3 deep shots to nowhere. Right? It was just 3 deep shots to nowhere. And there's no consistency in play calling. There's no there's no requirement to get Jordan Love into a rhythm, and he's a young QB, right? He's in his 2nd official season as a starter, which means, yes, he's a talented quarterback, but he's a talented young quarterback. Not everybody can be Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. Even Josh Allen was making significant mistakes when he was young, right? It took him 5 years to get right. Right? Nobody can be Patrick Mahomes. So it takes a little bit of time to iron out some of the issues. And unfortunately, he needed to get into a rhythm, and Matt LaFleur didn't provide that. So, yes, we are a good team. we're not a great team, and unfortunately, it's been proven that we're not the top tier team, but we are right there. So all it takes is for us to get one break and have one good game in the playoffs, and we're rolling, baby.
All
We're
right.
rolling. So yeah, going back to this game, there were a ton of things that happened. Yeah,
Oh my lord.
what
Breaking
happened?
the Makadar news. Pittsburgh tried to go for it on 4th and 1
Uh
in
huh.
their own territory and they failed. Cincinnati, 1st and 10 at the Pittsburgh 27, 31 seconds to go in the second quarter. They have the ball.
Let's go, Cincinnati.
Give us chaos, Bungles.
Give us the chaos. Give us all the chaos. Alrighty. So yeah, going back, if you were to take a look at the top four teams in the NFC, right? Here are the weaknesses, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rakshak, if you think that this is inaccurate.
Sure.
But the Packers' weaknesses are youthful mistakes and certain play calling moments, whether it's both offensively or defensively.
Yep.
For the Lions, it's their defensive injuries, having an entire defensive starter
And
worth. Yeah.
and I'll also say this for the Lions, not only just defensive injuries, they can literally they can literally build an IR. I mean, a roster, a roster. I'm side by side checking the score because it's first and goal at the 9-yard line.
Oh, wow.
And I'll also say one more thing. Dan Campbell has one thing that will come and bite him in the ass. He's a gambler.
Yes.
And some
He
of
is.
these mistakes can come back and bite him. If you want an example, look at what happened in the NFC
Last year in the
Championship
NFC Championship.
Yeah, against the Niners, and then of course the loss to the Bills, he attempted an onside kick, and the Bills, Matt Collins did the right thing, recover it and try and score out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, and him going for it on 4th down too many times. Hell, the Packers were able to convert. Were able to convert on one of those chances as well. So it's gambling.
Yeah. So there you go. Lions defensive injuries and Dan Campbell moments, right? Vikings, we still don't know about Sam Darnold in playoff pressure, right? How he's going to react to those teams, and what that situation is going to be, right? He so far through the season, he's definitely the comeback player of the year, and he's played very admirably. So definitely give credit where credit is due to, Cock and Sam Darnold, KOC and Sam Darnold. So yeah, that's still something that you have to take into account. And the Eagles injured Jalen Hurts, right? What is Jalen Hurts' injury, and how is it going to cost them in the playoffs?
And I'll give an update on that right now. From what I heard from Howie Roseman, they are not going to be playing Jalen Hurts the upcoming game against the Giants because he's still under concussion protocol, although he's getting a little bit more healthy. And the thing is, he has a broken finger in his left hand that he's dealing with. So, no, oh my God,
Jamar Chase dropped it. He dropped the third down catch.
Okay, and I think like other than Jalen Hurts' injury, I'd also have to say sometimes Vic Fangio being too over aggressive, and sometimes when Nick Sirianni decides to go full North Korea mode and tries to take over the offense away from Kellen Moore. So there's that. There's so many different ways.
So yeah, I mean the Packers at the end of the day, they still have a chance. It's any given day during the playoffs. And they can still be a force to be reckoned with. So yeah. Now I've said what I said before about the defense being Super Bowl caliber. And now it's still kind of true, but with an asterisk. The asterisk being not having key players in the backfield. In terms of pass defense. Now, this game was unfortunately not consistent. There was a lack of pass rush that hurt the pass defense. significantly. I mean, there was often times where Sam Darnold basically had 3, 4, 5 seconds per drop back, and he was able to dice people up, dice the backfield up, because no DB is going to be able to cover Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jalen Naylor for 5 seconds, right? No secondary is going to be able to do that unless your pass rush gets home. So with a 17% pressure percentage, that's not going to cut it from anybody. So it was bad from our key players on the D-line, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness. More and more as becoming a first-round bust, especially since we had the chance of getting Christian Gonzalez that round, or Nolan Smith, who you guys picked up with the 30th overall pick, I believe. Like, there's definitely chances to get better players with that 13th overall pick that we had, instead of picking up LVN. And the worst part is, it's not like they're being double teamed or anything. It's the one-on-ones that they have to win that they're not winning. It seems like they're leaders in the almost sacks category. Like, if you had a defensive player of the year award for scoring almost sacks, Rashawn Gary would be that guy, because he gets a lot of pressure. He uses his power, he uses his speed to bully, the offensive line and get close to the quarterback. But the D-line just allows the quarterback to squirt through, or it's just long enough for the quarterback to find and make a play. And that's exactly what Sam Darnold did. And the inconsistency in the pass rush has definitely is not a good sign for the Packers, because against bad offensive lines, they wrap up sacks like nobody's business. Right? They get like 5, 6, 7 sacks against, the Tennessee Titans offensive line and Will Levis. But that's against Will Levis. This is Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings that we're talking about, that have a top 10 offensive line, a top 5, caliber playing QB, and a top, 5 caliber play calling scenario, head coach in Kevin O'Connell. Right? They have probably one of the best offensive weaponry that you can possibly have, like a top 3 offensive weaponry in the entire league. I mean, you could put it up with, the Eagles would probably be like number 2. Who would be number 1 in terms of offensive weaponry, in terms of wide receivers and running backs? I guess it's the Eagles. Because you can't beat A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, and a top 3 offensive line. Right? That's just... It's maybe Lions, probably Lions.
Yeah,
would be up there. So I would say like Eagles 1, Lions 2, Vikings 3. Those are like
you can flip flop either of those 3.
Huh?
You can flip flop either of those 3.
Yeah. So, right, in terms of ranking, that's what I'm saying. So like Vikings are right there. They have the talent. So in this scenario, when I was breaking it down, I said, the only way for the Packers to stop them was to get pressure on Sam Darnold, and they couldn't. Even without Christian Darrisaw, they still couldn't generate enough pass rush. And that also led to the secondary being in disadvantageous positions. Now, what hurt possibly more than the lack of pass rush was the injuries to not only Jair Alexander, but key players in Evan Williams and Zane Anderson, both rookies, but both incredibly talented safeties. That's what hit us. Because without Evan Williams and Zane Anderson, guess who played safety opposite Xavier McKinney?
Who?
Javon Bullard. He is not a safety. He is a nickel corner. Because he played safety, this was his stats. 9 targets, 9 completions, 107 yards allowed, 11.9 yards per target.
Oof.
2 touchdowns allowed,
and
a 155.8 passer rating. So he was abysmal as a strong safety. And that cost us significantly, because there was that busted coverage touchdown to Jalen Naylor. That was the only completion of 30 plus air yards allowed by the Packers defense the entire season was that 31-yard pass to Jalen Naylor. Against Green Bay, teams were 0 and 13 with 3 interceptions on such throws entering the season, according to ESPN Stats and Info. We were the last team in the NFL to allow a completion of 30 plus air yards or more. That's including the Eagles' number 1 pass defense. That's how good the deep pass was. Like, Packers are number 1 against the deep pass. But this year, or this game, because they didn't have Zane Anderson, because they didn't have Evan Williams as a safety, it was hard for it basically it brought Xavier McKinney down closer towards the box. And the coverages that Jeff Hafley had to play were not optimal. And that is what led to a lot of these deep passes to be completed. And this also led to Sam Darnold between the numbers. So that's middle of the field. 23 of 27 for 289 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Dang.
That's you can't win games when allowing a quarterback to do that between the middle of the field. So the pass defense, without a good pass rush or a consistent pass rush, without without Evan Williams or Zane Anderson, forcing Javon Bullard to be the safety, it really hampered us, and it showed. So most likely in the upcoming weeks, we don't know the extent of Zane Anderson's injury. We don't know the extent of Evan Williams' injury. He still hasn't practiced. I think he's still either limited participation or did not participate in practices so far. I don't expect him to play against the Bears because it's not a matchup that's worthy of him being played against the Bears. Like, if anything, we have to rest these guys and have them play at full health against the Eagles, most likely.
Yep.
So, yeah. Some good news came from this game, defensively speaking, and that's the rush defense. While Rashawn Gary has been piss poor in terms of pass defense, he's been a top 10 edge at run defense, especially in terms of setting the edge. There's not like a stat that quantifies that. It's more of like a film study. And you can see just how effective he is on the edge. So 10th in rushing success rate this past week. So it is good. It is good, especially against Aaron Jones and that offensive line. So the defense didn't help. But it was the offense that cost us this game. It was the offense. It was mistakes on the offense. First half, first drive, Josh Jacobs fumbled. Like that rarely ever happens, and it happened against the worst possible time when we were driving. There was momentum on our side. It looked like it was going to be one of those games where the Packers just come out, run up to us, touchdown lead, right? Immediately within 5 minutes of the game. And it would have been like, a back and forth game between the Packers and the Vikings. But no, it wasn't that. Josh Jacobs fumbled, and it cost a lot of momentum to be lost. Then this has been the story of the Packers offense this entire season. And that's drops. Dude, Jaden Reed, critical drop on 4th down, turnover on downs. It was 4th and 2, and it was for like a 7-yard game that would have put us closer to field goal range. Drive lost. So 2 drives lost because of a fumble and a drop. And then Dontavian Wicks with the stupid, dumbass alignment penalty on 3rd down. That was a 5-yard penalty, and then you just punt later. Because you can't. It's hard to convert 3rd and 13 against the Vikings defense with the insanity that is Brian Flores. So these type of critical mistakes made by young players is what cost us. And then just play calling sequence of just deep throws instead of getting into a rhythm for Jordan Love from Matt LaFleur. Again, really, really hampered our ability to score points in the first half. It wiped out 3 drives, drops, and bad play calling. So in the second half, it wasn't that, it was penalties. A penalty by Sean Ryan wiped out a touchdown by Josh Jacobs, a 25, 30-yard touchdown by Josh Jacobs because of a holding penalty against the. I mean, come on. Like how these type of mistakes just keep on and on and on. And then when you get pressure, failed third downs and led to a sack. And one critical thing, and Rakshak, if you remember me saying this in
Yeah.
our in our breakdown, I said this. One of the keys to victory for the Packers is to target Tucker Kraft. Give him like 7, 8, 9 targets.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times they targeted Tucker Kraft?
Let me guess, less than 5 times.
3.
What?
3 times.
Ayo, Panamale.
He is one of our key players against a blitzing, a blitz heavy defense, and that's a safety of the tight end. And Matt LaFleur is not the worst part is if it's like Arthur Smith and the usage of Kyle Pitts, I completely understand. It's not that. You know, Matt LaFleur has ingenious ways of scheming Tucker Kraft open, and they only used it 3 times. Like that has to be something that you constantly target. When your wide receivers are making drops over and over and over again, you have to use your tight end. So
Yeah.
on the season, there are 4 wide receivers or 4 receivers in the top 25 of highest drop percentage in 2024. Now, some of it is, bad throws by Jordan Love because he gets pressure in his face. He doesn't, he has bad foot mechanics. And he just, does an Aaron Rodgers, style of just, chucking it somewhere. But a lot of these, especially the wide receivers, are their fault. Dontavian Wicks is third in the entire league with 12.9% of his drops. Did you know he is one of the only like 5 or 3 players in the NFL to get 100% separation according to PFF this entire season?
Yeah.
100% separation. If he caught at least 5% of these dropped throws, he would have had like 300 more yards on the season. And we probably would have won this game. But it's like they just don't know how to catch the ball. Like that's the key thing that you need to do. And now what I had mentioned before, right? We have the connect with Joe West, who's an ex wide receiver and punt returner for the Dallas Cowboys. And he was saying that one of the drills that you run as a wide receiver is called the rice barrel. Basically, after the end of your conditioning workout, you get a massive trash can, put a lot of rice in it, and then you stick your hands in it and you rub it in. So it trains your fingers in a catching motion and works the muscles in your fingers to have better grip. They need to do this, man. They need to fix this in the offseason, whether that's Jason Rabel, the wide receivers coach, whether that's Matt LaFleur bringing in somebody else, whether that's, this has to be fixed because you cannot have a wide receiving core that has 4 receivers in the top 25 of the highest drop percentage on the entire year. It just cannot, you can't win games like this. And especially you can't win games against good teams. So yeah, I still believe in the Pack for the playoffs. I'm obviously going to believe in them. Ride or die with the Packers. But yeah, it clearly shows what our weaknesses are. And I hope that, over the course of the season, it would have resolved our issues, but no, it hasn't. So we'll see.
All right. with that being said, let's move on to the greatest topic right now, which is the Eagles
Ah, ha,
against
ha,
the
ha, ha, ha,
Cowboys.
ha, ha.
Because guess what,
Just
America?
wait until the wild card, boyo. Just wait.
You know what? I have something for you. Because of you spoke out of your turn, guess what? The Packers are receiving the Ruckshuck curse.
Oh no.
Hey, see what happened to the Niners when they were talking so much shit? Don't
We'll see. We'll see.
respect your elders, boy. Respect it. But all I will say is this. I heard on the go off and off about Kenny Pickett. And I had my suspicions.
What? When? I said he was good.
He's good, but I heard so many people say that, yeah, and there's a stat. When Jalen Hurts is not playing, the Eagles haven't won with a backup QB since without Jalen Hurts as a starter. Well, my friend, I'll tell you this. No Jalen Hurts. No problem. Because the Philadelphia Eagles did what America was waiting for. Like how our President Joe Biden signed off into law that the eagle is the national bird of America. The real America's team with the American bird in patriotic red, white, and blue. We came in our Kelly Green game and we laid a curb stomping to the Dallas Cowboys in belt to ass to fashion. We
Got
kicked
the
their
actual
asses
belt.
41-7.
But that's what I said. I agree with you. I was critiquing those Eagles fans who said that the Eagles ride or die with Jalen Hurts. And I said they don't. You literally have the best defense in the NFL and a top 3 offense.
But I said, like, my suspicion is one of the reasons why Kenny Pickett lost that game against the Commanders. Not only, like, Devontae Smith, he makes that catch. He fesses up to it. Perfectly okay. Everyone drops it, okay? I'll just say it. Even the best receivers, it tends to mess up. Hell, look at Saquon against the Falcons. He makes that third down catch. Easy win. Devontae Smith, he probably gets a touchdown, and Jaden Daniels doesn't have those heroic moments. Although he really showed why he's the NFC offense. He is the offensive rookie of the year. I'm gonna say this, but man, I have to give credit to Kellen Moore for developing a quick game for him. Knowing that without Jalen Hurts, like, yeah, you're not going to be running the ball efficiently, but what has made Kenny Pickett good? The short passing game, especially a strong run game, and checkdowns. That's all there is, and receivers catching the ball. And you know what? It was good. Kenny Pickett played some big boy football and had himself a game. Even with broken ribs, thanks to a cheap shot by the Cowboys defense, trying to play hard. Marius Luafu, you are a dirty player. That's why you were a backup in Notre Dame. So sit your ass down, boy. No, he's a punk. That's all I'll say. Oh. And I mean, Kenny Pickett's stats: 10 for 15, 143 yards. He had a one touchdown, and that was a beautiful catch to Devontae Smith. And by the way, who had himself a rebound game, a redeeming game. And by the way, no interceptions. And also, what started this entire thing for the offense was especially a beautiful 34-yard deep ball to Grant Calcaterra on a 3rd and 8. He's rolling right. He makes his throw. And when in doubt, Grant Calcaterra has stepped up this season with Dallas Goedert being out on IR. The SMU product makes a juggling one-handed catch, tosses it to him as he's laying down, secures it for possession. That's beautiful. And then next couple of plays, throws a deep shoulder off to Devontae Smith for a touchdown. Gives the Eagles 14-7 in the late second quarter. I'll get back to defense, but let me talk about the offense. And again, in the sequence drive, Kenny Pickett, he leads less than a 2-minute drive with beautiful throws to Devontae Smith again. And I mean, and it was like that throw that was like supposedly rolled a touchdown, but because he was down by contact, they run a tush push. And some people are calling it the picket push. I'm like, no, it's just a tush push or the brotherly shove. Keep it simple. And and then later on, he gets knocked out in the third quarter. But guess what? We got Tanner freaking McKee coming in. And guess what? He threw dimes. I'm like, yeah, he did show flashes in the preseason, but against this Cowboys defense, what the hell is going on? I'm like, huh. And I was so pissed I couldn't watch most of the game because I was flying out of Vegas back to Dallas, and instead of the Eagles-Cowboys game, they're showing the Colts and the Giants game. I hate you, American Airlines, for this. I am calling your ass out on this. Anand, I don't care what you do. Make this clip, and I'm going to post it on this one. Please do so for my sake. Change your games. That's all I could say. But, I mean, and McKee, his first 4 passes, he's thrown for 2 touchdowns. 3 for 4, 54 yards and 2 touchdowns. And in the post game, you know what Jordan Mailata calls him? He called him the Mormon Missile. I'm like, bro, come on.
That's the Aussie humor right there.
Oh Lord, I'm like, oh crikey, mate. But he's the only Aussie I love. With all due disrespect to the Australian cricket team, I hate y'all anyway.
Yeah. Fuck
yeah. And then I mean, and here's the crazy part. His first touchdown pass, I can't believe it, was a back to shoulder throw to AJ Brown. And the funny sequence happens. I kid you not, like it makes it like 30, it makes it like 34-7, right? What AJ Brown does next as he's celebrating, he throws the ball into the stands without realizing that it was Tanner McKee's first touchdown pass. And then as he's going back to the sideline, a bunch of his teammates was yelling at him, and I quote, "What the hell, AJ?" And then Brown is like, "Oh my God, I just realized he threw it away." Luckily, they found the guy they found the fan who caught the ball, and the fan's like, "Hey, don't worry, we got it back." And then AJ said, "Hey, you know what? I will give you a jersey signed by it." That is why, and they called AJ Brown a diva. Come on. He does good things. Eagles fans are the best. We hand off stuff like this.
Oh, yeah. Eagles fans are the best. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. And then apparently Nick Sirianni instructed the ball guy to find the fan, and AJ Brown would give him the game-worn signed jersey in exchange for the ball. And shout out to Big Dom, the security guy, for handling the situation. I saw the film. I saw like the unscripted, like that version of it. I mean, like that was amazing. Good stuff. And then of course, big game for, AJ Brown, 3 catches, 36 yards, and 1 touchdown. Not too much, but guess what? Devontae Smith, 6 catches of 7 targets, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great bounce back game. But I got to talk about this. I want to and I know I've been delaying my gift for so long. I'm a bad host. I'll tell you this. I'm such a bad person because I promised myself I want to give thanks, and I should have sent a gift basket. I have been waiting. I've been trying to find, and I even tagged the new jersey of the New York Giants on Instagram multiple times, asking them for their front office's mailing address. And I want to say this, New Jersey Giants, I still want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and your front office for being absolute dipshits and morons for giving up 2 of your best players. One of them, a.k.a. Mr. Saquon Barkley, 31 carries, 167 yards. He broke the 2K mark, and and basically 104 yards away from breaking the single season high rushing record of Eric Dickerson. And also, I mean, like, again, give credit to the offensive line for making those blocks and winning their battles against the Cowboys run defense. I mean, yeah, it was pretty banged up, but and then I mean, I'll take I need because I gotta address the Cowboys because I want to talk about the most drunk award I have to give. Second, let's talk about the defense. This Eagles defense. When Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is on this field, great things have happened so far. Yes, the first couple of weeks with CJGJ, he was ass. I'll say it. I was like, I don't like this. I mean, you saw Dontavion Victor, Romeo Dubs like hair CJGJ in like the first game. I'm like, yep, here we go again. But since the bye week, he has turned his Eagles defensive brethren into dogs. Hoo, hoo, hoo. And I mean, that's why he was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. 2 picks. His first one was the pick 6 that opened up the game. Cooper Rush, after like the Cowboys were like gaining into the territory, tried to throw a pass. CJGJ intercepts it, runs it for a touchdown. And the second pick was basically an arm punt. It was fine. It was actually going straight to Quinyon Mitchell, but CJGJ said, nope, I'll take it. Because Quinyon Mitchell apparently cannot catch interceptions. He has brick hands for the time being. But you know what? Hey, if you can't catch it, bat it away. That's all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you want to talk about how good this defense was, the Cowboys gained 105 yards on the first 2 drives and touchdown. And that was a good touchdown pass from Cooper Rush to Jaden Tolbert in that red zone area. And when I looked at the play, great throw by Rush. Quinyon Mitchell had great coverage, but Tolbert beat him on it. And I know it hasn't been like the past 2 weeks. Mitchell hasn't been that good. I think it may be like the rookie phase coming through. But you know what? It is what it is. He's been playing very well. He'll definitely get better of it in the future.
Uh-oh. Joe Burrow's down.
Oh, shit.
Joe Burrow's down. He got sacked hard onto his helmet by 3 Steelers, and Joe Burrow is down. Oh, my God.
All right, I'll hurry up on this one then.
No. That's okay. I just need to explain that. Yeah, he got hit hard on his head. Oh, man.
And then I'll say, like, with the Cowboys, they gained 105 yards on the first 2 drives and touchdown, but then they were clamped to a total of 153 total yards of offense. And this Eagles defensive line, man, without Brandon Graham, Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, they answered the play. Bryce Huff was in, but damn, I mean, he looked really rusty after getting a special operation on his hand. I want to say Zach Bond, hell of a game. I mean, he needs to be re-signed for sure. Nolan Smith and that defensive line. And there was a play. I mean, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. I think it was either Zach Bond and by the way, with Nakobe Dean be out, Oren Burks had to step in. And he led the team with 8 tackles and a forced fumble recovered by Jordan Davis. That opened that allowed the Eagles to make it 7-17. And I was really happy for Jordan Davis on this one. And then also, like, I want to say another thing was that, like, yeah, we couldn't get to rush, but like we did pretty good with like clamping up the Cowboys like a run game later at the end. Although I would much like to have them attack early and make that statement instead of like just the feeling process. I always hate that concept. If you're gonna play hard, you play start to finish. You don't play lagging. Right? You start a game top to bottom. And then we got to talk about there was a fight, and the only eventful thing that happened was there was a fight at the end. It was a punt return, and Sidney Brown, Eagles backup safety and special teamers, gets into a fight with two other Cowboys fans. He's throwing away people and all that, and then, of course, thrown out of the game along with two other Cowboys. What do you expect? And then you want to know the
Joe
funny thing?
Burrow got up. He was pushed to the medical. He got up and walked to the medical tent on his own volition. So
Thank
just
God.
that. Yeah.
And the funniest thing happened, I think. Sidney Brown is exiting out. Of all the people to play peacemaker for him, Jalen Carter and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, they were telling him to calm down. Of all people! That was on my bingo card. But with this win, the Eagles clinch the NFC East and the number 2 spot. Most likely they'll be playing the Packers. I wish I could go into more stats and all this stuff, but nah, I don't feel like it because this was. I felt like a belt to ass game doesn't need that much stats because we already know what happened. And by the way, the Eagles have swept the Cowboys and haven't swept the Cowboys in a long time, and we pretty much outscored them 75-13, I believe, in 2 of those games. And I got to talk about Micah Parsons, man. Did you hear what he said?
No.
Micah Parsons on the Eagles at the Eagles post game, at the post game, Micah Parsons says this. He says this, and I quote: "The game was closer than it was expected." And he said, if you look at their plays, they had 2 big runs and 3 good deep shots. Other than that, we made them earn it. If you take away the scoreboard, it was about 5 plays that decided this game. And you hate to say that because it's a lot of football, but for the most part, we were making them earn it. 3 yards, 2 yards, 4th and 1s, which is good football when you're playing a team like the Eagles. Bro, I don't know what to tell you.
He is smoking some sort of substance that needs to be checked by Jerry Jones.
And can we quote Stephen A on this one? Stay off the wheel. And Cowboys, say this with me. 1, 2, 3. Cancun, here we come. And thank you, Cowboys, for a memorable collapse of a season because, of course, what can go wrong will go wrong. They're an accident waiting to happen. How about them cry, boys? And I say cheers to you guys and hope your 2024 and your 2025 season is miserable as hell. And I hope that Jerry Jones is still alive and resurrected in on a Lazarus Pit in Frisco, which is a shit, which has the shittiest facility, which is a Cowboys practice facility. And I will also like to wish you screw you and goodbye. Go Birds, biatches. I'm Raksha Kangar, and I approve this message.
Well, yeah, that was fun to listen to from a Cowboys hater perspective. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just, yeah, it goes to show that Jalen Hurts is not the MVP of the team. He's a good player. He takes it to a whole other level.
It's a whole team.
It's the whole team. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Josh Allen.
He's just Jalen Hurts. He just needs to do what he needs to win.
Exactly. He's a
good
the
Eagles,
I think QB.
And I will say this: the Eagles have found their offensive identity. It's a run-first team, and then it's built through the play action, the motions, and I'm hoping to see a lot more under center. And hopefully we get in the playoffs because Kellen Moore, I don't want to see Saquon Barkley hiking it from the center. I want none of that. That's all I hope for. But on that, I want to say the season was a success.
Yep.
So,
okay. Alrighty. So let's move on. Since Rakshak was not there last week, we didn't do Masala games of the week. hopefully Rakshak is okay. But yeah, no, right now, because we didn't do Masala games of the week, we're going to be fast forwarding through the recap and then doing the best segment that we have, the Punch Minute Recap.
Punch minutes. Let's effing go, my boy.
Let's go, man.
Lead the way.
Starting with Christmas Day, what we thought was going to be a magical showdown turned out to be the matchup of the Devil Magic, and it turns out that the Chiefs' Devil Magic trumped the Steelers' deal with the Devil, and clearly the Steelers are frauds, and they won't last more than the wild card. And the FBI needs to launch an investigation into child endangerment by the Kansas City Chiefs and what they're doing over at Gayha Field in terms of animal and human sacrifice. So sign all of them up for mass murder. Ship him on to Guantanamo Bay, get him out of the league because
let's switch him over to Guantanamo Bay.
Nah. Guantanamo Bay was broken by Scary Terry last week.
Only one inmate.
That's fine. It was still broken.
Yeah. I mean,
or, as you say, ship him off to North Korea. Ship him off to North Korea, and that will make everyone's day. In ICBMs. That way, North Korea is destroyed, and so are the Chiefs. Here I am inciting nuclear war to make sure that the
I said nothing, folks. I said nothing this time. He said it.
Yeah. Wow, I don't know why, man. I'm hating the Chiefs more than the Patriots during their peak. I don't know. Maybe it's just something about I don't know.
Like Anyways, speaking like Mahomes and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Also, George Pickens dropped a key pass on 3rd and 8, and now the Steelers are going to punt again.
Pickens, he's such a diva.
Alrighty. It was a beautiful ball by Russell Wilson that he just dropped right into his bucket, and George Pickens just dropped it. Say it plain and simple. All right, moving on to the second game on Christmas Day. Terrible. When Santa was about to show.
The second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me the Texans screwing up.
Yep. Because that's what they did. They lost 31-2 to the Ravens, and the 2 was a safety on Derrick Henry of all people. The Stroud slump in year 2 proves that this game is not that no QB is going to be successful without a good offensive line. Like, not many QBs are going to be successful without a good offensive line. And this game and Stroud's slump in year 2 definitely proves it, because yes, he's had to face injuries with his offensive weaponry, but more so than that, he doesn't have anybody. He doesn't have any time to throw. Like, he's consistently getting pressured in his face, and there's just not enough options out there for him to succeed. And yeah, he's also been making terrible plays as well. I mean, I'm not saying everything is not on Stroud, but it's more like 60% on the Texans' offensive line and weaponry being injured, and 40%, like 25% on Stroud, and then the rest being on play calling. So yeah, Chargers 40, Patriots 7. Oof. Patriots need a whole new offense except for QB. And the Patriots wide receivers need to shut the freaking up, because when they continue to drop and not make plays, it just looks like they're whining on and on and on. And I just want to look at something. If we want to look at the season leaders in terms of drops, let's see if we can figure that out here. Receiving touchdowns, receptions, yards per reception. No. Where are drops? But yeah, it just like the amount of times that we've seen um the yeah, here we go. Drop percentage. So you got Patriots who are top 10 in drop percentage. The Packers are tied with the Browns at 7% drop percentage. But you have here the Patriots who are basically 10th with 24 drops on the season. So really, the Patriots wide receivers need to shut up because they are not helping anything. And that offensive line is non-existent. Is basically non-existent. So in a game where Justin Herbert has one of the best offensive lines in the league, top 10 offensive line in the league, and throws 3 touchdowns to receivers like Joshua Palmer and still has a 7% drop percentage, it just goes to show how much you need a good offensive line. So again, what do we say, Dakshak? Build through the trenches.
Build through the trenches.
So yeah, that's what the patch needs to do. All right. Bengals 30, Broncos 24, an underrated game of the season. It went into overtime, but Broncos, you had one job: win and you're in. And they blew it. They blew it. They had 2 drives in overtime, and both of them were 3 and outs. Both of them were 3 and outs. You can't just, against such a successful offense in Bengals and Joe Burrow, you can't just continue to waste away these opportunities. If you look at the last 4 or 5 drives from the last 4 drives from the Broncos, the second to last drive in the fourth quarter was an interception. Then it was the game tying touchdown, which they clearly needed. And then punt. And then punt. Right? So 2 punts, both of them being 3 and outs in the overtime is not going to cut it when you have the playoffs on the line. That just you can't do it like this. So it just goes to show that the Broncos need one more year. They need more wide receivers. They need, Bo Nix to keep progressing. Sean Payton needs to get his head out of his ass and call an actual good game in the fourth quarter in overtime. So, yeah. And Burrow made his MVP case with this game, keeping the Bungles in the playoff hunt. So, yeah, I don't care what anybody says. I'm picking Joe Burrow for my MVP. Either Joe Burrow or Josh Allen for my MVP.
Okay.
Because he is single-handedly, yes, he has Jamar Chase in potentially the Triple Crown. So you can make the argument that he doesn't deserve the MVP based on that standpoint. But I can also say Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have benefited from far better defenses than the Bengals. So yes, Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, but when Aaron Rodgers won his MVPs, he had Devontae Adams, right? He had when he won those MVPs, he didn't have great defenses as well, and Joe Burrow is making that case. So, yeah, and according to RG3, apparently it's a racist issue, saying Lamar Jackson is not the MVP. Because yes, that's exactly what it is. Especially since last year Lamar Jackson didn't deserve it, and I will say this: he didn't deserve it because it was CMC who should have won the MVP last year. But yeah. Anyways, moving on. Bills 40, Jets 14. Oh my god. Oh my god. At one point, bro, it was going to be scoreagami shutout at 40-0. That's how bad it was. But apparently the Jets were saved from from further embarrassment by Tyrod Taylor, who might end up being a better QB this year than Aaron Rodgers.
Lord.
Man, what has Aaron Rodgers' career come to, man? That's
We're in the
just
Twilight Zone. Holy shit.
it's so sad to see his downfall. And I don't care what people say. I don't care how much people hate Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, a
especially the
player,
media.
great, but his personality, I said this before.
Yeah. So yeah, it's sad to see his downfall. Alrighty, moving on. Jags 20, Titans 13, Tankathon 3.0. I don't want to talk more about it. Dolphins 20. It's like what do you do at this point? What do you do at this point if you're a Titans fan? I don't know what you do. Like they're in purgatory right now because Will Levis probably not the answer, but they're not high enough to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
Oh, are they?
I think so. They're either number one or they're either two. Be right back.
Yeah, so I think so they're probably going to be drafting a quarterback. And if that's the case, do they go Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward? Is it a better option than Will Levis? I don't know. I think next year is the year to see what Brian Callahan can actually achieve. So, yeah, we'll see. Dolphins 20, Browns 3. Browns are in a similar situation, but this is a hole that they dug themselves. I mean, Kevin Stefanski is literally like, man, I don't know what to say about the Browns. I mean, it's just like
it's too sad.
It's I feel bad for the Browns fans because they've put their heart and soul into a franchise that has not delivered since like the 60s or the 70s, right? It's they have consistently. I saw this one meme, or not meme, but a Browns fan who has this jersey, right? And in the past 30 years, he has 42 QBs on his jersey. Like, and now he's adding a new one with Bailey Zappi as a starter. With the game just happened, and the Ravens just cleaned out the Browns clock. And because they lost, the Browns may end up with the number 1 overall seed. This is just karma.
The overall pick.
Yeah. Sorry, number 1 pick. So number 1 overall pick. They might end up with the number 1 overall pick if the Giants and the Patriots win. So if the Giants and the Patriots win next week, the Browns and the Titans will potentially fight for the number 1 overall pick. So, man, it's just like, I don't know what you do at that point. I don't know
what? Ruin it. But all I can say is this: the Factory of Sadness has reopened in Cleveland.
Oh yeah, especially when they're looking to build a new stadium or whatever. They're spending like $1 billion or like $2 billion on that new warehouse looking ass stadium, which just looks like a greenhouse. It just looks so bad. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do. All right, that's it for me. That was a very long, lengthy punch minute. So hopefully, Black Chuck, you can speed through the rest.
All right, I'll start off the easier ones. Seahawks versus Bears.
Oh my god!
No way. I will say this. I want to burn this. This was the greatest game. I mean, the only thing that came out of it was Mike McDonald's defense. 179 total yards allowed and forced the Bears to punt 7 times. I mean, good Lord, it was so bad. Then you had...
Oh, wait. Okay, so I just had to say one thing. For Caleb Williams, okay? During this game, he did not complete a single pass beyond 6 yards downfield until the final drive of regulation. Under 10 air yards, 15 of 17 for 107 yards, plus 4.5% completion percentage over
I feel
expected.
bad for DeAndre Swift and Kevin Byard.
Over 10 air yards, 1 of 9, 15 yards, INT. I
Good.
mean, I can't fathom
Mhm.
the pure depression that is the Chicago Bears. I mean, they were sell the team chants and freaking go pack go chants in the middle of a Seahawks and Bears game at Chicago. Like,
Damn.
that's how bad it was. And on this entire season, these are the Bears' first quarter points in each of their games. All right, listen to this.
I'm listening.
0-3-0-0-7-0-0-0-3-7-0-0-0-0-0.
Oh,
They've scored a touchdown 2 times on the entire season in the first quarter.
you know what's even more shocking about this one? They had the college football game scored more points than the Chicago.
Yeah. Anyways, I just had to say that I cannot believe that this is how bad the Caleb Williams has a completion percentage of 35.6% on throws of 10 plus air yards. There have been 530 quarterbacks to have 100 plus such attempts
Yeah.
in a season since the year 2000. So in this millennium, in the modern NFL, where do you think Caleb Williams ranks?
I think it's going to be at the bottom.
520th. The
Hey.
supposed savior of Chicago.
You could, the only way to go is up, man. You got a long way ahead.
I don't know about the Bears organization. I mean, I'm sure they can go worse.
Oh, man. You never know. It's week to week in the NFL, I guess.
Yeah, with the Bears? No.
Yeah. All right, so moving on.
Yeah.
The Rams 13, Cardinals 9. Entertaining game, I could say, but first of all, Puka Nacua needs to have a day off because he's literally carrying the Rams offense for Stafford. And then, but I mean, their defense has been very, very good. Kyler Murray had 2 picks, brutal ones. And and of course, shout out to Trey McBride finally getting a touchdown. Whoever had him on fantasy, you did it. Congratulations on that. Moving on. Raiders versus the Saints. Hey, you lost 10 games. Hey, Raiders won. 2 straight. You heard their draft stock, so no Travis Hunter for you. But at least you won by pride. So, and the only highlight was Brock Bowers. 7 passes, 77 yards. He broke Mike Ditka's record for rookie tight ends with 108 catches. But man, and the Saints, they're broken without Alvin Kamara. They need to revamp that offense, and Chris Olave may not be it.
They need to revamp the entire team. They need to go through a
and
team.
We got to talk about this one. The Giants against the Colts. Giants 45, Colts 33. Giants, you had one job and you didn't tank properly. Remember, okay, Anand, what is the golden rule of Tank Bowl?
It's to make sure that you're always in contention for the number 1 overall pick.
And the way to do that is to
lose.
And you did the opposite. Why, oh, why is Drew Lock and Malik Neighbors having good days? Why? And Malik Neighbors, yeah, you went over 1,000 yards, but you screwed up your team's draft position. No bueno. And Colts, you win Lowell Cow of the Year and Pat McAfee's rant. Well deserved. Next up, I thought this was an entertaining game. The Commanders against the Falcons. Michael Penix Jr. and Jaden Daniels. They had themselves a fight, man. I thought it was a fun game. And congratulations on the Commanders on reaching into the postgame. I hope you lose against the Cowboys and the Packers win against the Bears so that we can face the Commanders and kick their asses like we're supposed to. I mean, Jaden Daniels, 227 yards and 3 touchdowns and 1 INT. And of course, the game-winning touchdown in overtime was to Zach Ertz. This hurts me, but I mean, Ray Morris, you have timeouts. Pardon my French, but learn to fucking use them, you idiot. The same thing that kills the Falcons was time management. It's a ghost that's gonna bite their asses. And then last but not least, the Lions and the 49ers. Damn. 49ers put a hell of a fight against the Lions. I'll give them that. And the Lions had to, their defense, the defensive injuries, it really showed out. And it was so bad that Brock Purdy had to be out of the game. Josh Dobbs is close. Pasternak did some pretty good things, but then again, nothing much to be said. That's all I could say.
Alrighty, let's move on to the Masala moment of the week before wrapping up for week 18, which sadly is not going to be much. Masala moment of the week. Mine is going to be this Saints trick play that happened, which was let me just share this right here. So it was a flea flicker. You have Spencer Rattler snapping the ball under center to Kendre Miller, which looks like to be a sweep to the outside right side. But it turns out Kendre Miller is just going back to Spencer Rattler, and it's a backward pass, so it's legal. And then Spencer Rattler launches it deep downfield to wide open Foster Moreau touchdown.
That was just beautiful.
I just wanted to put something positive for the Saints because nothing is really positive right now. Though I will say one thing. I think, and I don't know if this is a hot take or not, so I don't know if you agree with this or not. I think next year they need to see what they have in Spencer Rattler.
Ooh, that's an interesting take. That is an interesting take for sure.
Because, like, he's made plays. He's not the best, but if you can get a quarterback coach or a good offensive coordinator, someone like Liam Cohen, for example, or someone from that tree, maybe Kevin O'Connell's quarterback coach like Josh McCown, and bring him in as an offensive coordinator, maybe that can help and bring something out of Spencer Rattler. Because next year you have the Saints they're not in position to get a quarterback, right? Our top quarterback. Either they pick a quarterback in the second or third round, and then they see what happens with their quarterbacking situation. I don't think Derek Carr's the answer. I think they just need to blow it up this year. We have too many experiments with old quarterbacks that haven't succeeded. So I think they just need to blow it up this year, get younger, because look at the entire roster that they have. Like, look at all the old players that they have. They have Alvin Kamara's getting up there in age, right? I think he's either 29 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's 29. So he maybe has 2 years left, tops. Right? So you need depth at running back, right?
Yep.
Jawan Johnson's a good young tight end, but they could probably upgrade. And this is a pretty deep and interesting tight end class for you to look at. So that's one thing that I would look at. Their offensive line, their tackles are good. Their guard is good. I would still upgrade on the interior and get some more depth. But their offensive line is actually pretty solid. The defense is where the situation is. Cam Jordan, he's like 34 years old, right? Yeah, 35. So he maybe has 1 year left. Nathan Shepard, interior defensive line, 31 years old. You have Kalen Saunders, who's 28 years old. So you need young players. Now you do have Brian Brzee, but besides Brian Brzee, you have nobody. You also have Chase Young, who is underdeveloped and probably a bust. Carl Granderson, decent edge. You could probably look to upgrade from there. And this is a very, very deep and talented pass rushing and defensive end draft. So I would expect them to target someone like Abdul Carter or James Pierce in that first round.
Oh yeah.
So they need wide receiver because besides Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, they have MVS, Cedric Wilson, Kevin Austin, Dante. Yeah, nothing really there.
No Chris Olave?
No, I mean besides Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, they have nobody else.
Yeah.
So they need more depth.
Fair
So
enough.
they can definitely get younger. And they have some good pieces in the secondary. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry, Alante Taylor. So anyways, we're going to go deep into the offseason. But yeah, definitely, I think this offseason, they have to just burn it down.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. What's your Masala moment of the week?
It has to be from the Broncos-Bengals game, and I think I'm going to show you the video of what sums it up. This will be on mute, so... Excuse me. So you're looking at this 4th and 1 ball. Can you see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the play. 4th and 1. The ball is on the 24-yard line of the Cincy side. Bo Nix is a shotgun formation. Looks like the Bengals are trying to play a bit of zone coverage, or they're trying to fix up man-to-man last minute. Clock's at 5. They have no timeouts. What does Bo Nix do? Steps back to pass. He's getting pressured. Throws it deep. And guess who's right there?
Marvin Mims. Oh, my God. What a catch.
I mean, this kid, I think he's a rookie, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's insane the way he did this off. I mean, I need to pull up the highlights. So if you want to know about how to make a freaking catch, look at this. Knowing that he's going to get hit. 2 defenders. What do? Hands up, hold it tight. And even though, and he's able to maintain possession.
Mm-hmm.
Great awareness.
Packers wide receivers is what you have to do.
Yup. That's just insane. I mean, I got to look at this again because that's just a beauty. Watch this again. I love stuff like this. Look up. Hands. Control all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Just beautiful. That's all I could show.
Also, injury to Najee Harris looks like a hit to the head. It's probably going to be concussion or maybe a head injury. And
oh my Lord!
For concussion.
The school boys just sent me something. It's regarding about the India cricket. That apparently there's being investigated by the ICC for ball tampering.
India?
Yeah. An undisclosed item fell out of the fast bowler Jasprit Bumrah's shoe.
Seriously?
Yeah, I don't know if it's sandpaper. I'm like, yeah. And Rico was the guy who sent it out to me. He's like, what?
No. It was an imitation.
I don't know. I think it was by Tom Brown, the fan. I don't know if that was a fake account or something.
Yeah. It was a mockery. Virat Kohli was mocking Australian cricket fans on the 3rd day of the 5th test, reigniting the sandpaper scandal from 2018, where the stand-in captain, where Australia was ball tampering at that time. And the Steelers just scored a touchdown to Pat Freiermuth. It is now 19-13.
Wow. Okay, and I think with this being said,
Yeah.
it's that's my Masala moment of the game.
Yeah.
My Masala moment of the week.
All righty. Let's move on to the Week 18 preview. Starting with the Packers. We're facing the Bears. There's not much to say. Somehow Caleb Williams is still playing. I don't know, man. I for whatever reason, the Bears are still being dumb Bears. Don't you think, Rakshak, that they should prevent him from playing and rest him and prevent him from being killed live on television?
Yeah, honestly.
Like, you don't want a massacre to be presented on the screen with, millions of people watching the other team, your rival, butcher your starting QB, who could potentially be a franchise QB if you let him, right? If you groom him.
Yep.
This is not the way to treat your to treat your starting QB. Like, what is wrong with this organization? I don't get it. So for me, there's not much to say. It should be the starters in the first half, backups in the second. And I would definitely play the starters in the first half to increase chemistry, because the Packers offense definitely needs it. And they need to be hot going into the wild card round, potentially facing the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect a victory here, 24-10. I don't think the Bears defense has fallen off a cliff since their mishaps. And I don't really expect much. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have 150 yards on the ground, because the Bears, there's not much to say. Right? There's not much to say. They should pack it in. And what do they do?
I honestly don't know.
Like, what did they do in the offseason? Do they just reset everything? Do they fire? Like, that means they're repeating the same process that they've done with Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields, and now Caleb Williams. So, that's it for me.
And I think for this Eagles versus the Giants, again, I'm going to keep it super, super short. No, you're not going to see Saquon Barkley play in this game. He's not there. Everyone's asking, hey, Sirianni, put him in. It's like, no. After what just happened with Derrick Henry, what just happened with
Zay Flowers,
Michael Hall Jr., Kyle Hamilton, I don't want any injuries last year. Jalen Hurts had a bad finger, and A.J. Brown got concussed, so I want none of that. So we're resting our starters, expect Tanner McKee to come and play, Drew Lock, and the Giants to ruin their tank. I would not be surprised if the Giants win, but I see the Eagles win 20-7. Besides, it'll be in the all-black jerseys this time. So it'll be a funeral for the Giants. So R.I.P. to whatever God, or no, rest in peace. No, you don't get no peace. Rest in hell.
They don't even deserve a little bit of peace for gifting you Saquon Barkley?
Oh, no, they deserve no peace at all. Worst.
Yeah, I would say the same thing for the Bears. I agree. All righty. So, on to our Masala games of the week. This is probably going to be the shootout of the season, and that is the Lions versus Vikings. Yes, this is going to be probably bigger than the Lions versus Bills. And that's because both offenses have the ability to defeat the opponent's defenses. I think the Lions offense is a great matchup for the Vikings blitz heavy defense, because in the previous matchup, do you remember the stats
of which one?
The Lions Vikings previous matchup.
Oh my goodness.
I'll give you a rundown if you don't. So this was back in I think October, week 6 or 7. But Jared Goff against this
It was
Vikings defense.
it was basically an offensive battle.
Yeah, it was 31-29 Lions.
Yeah, 31-29 Lions. That was the score.
And Jared Goff went 22 of 25 for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the Lions had 144 yards of offense. Whereas the Vikings had 139 yards of rushing offense, and they had, Sam Darnold was in a similar position in terms of the passing. So, like, they were basically, they were matching tit for tat, basically. They're going blow for blow. I'm trying to use whatever acronym idiom that's available to me in my head right now, but
Punch after punch, they were trading blows.
exactly, they were trading blows. They have the blueprint in terms of how to defeat the opposing defenses. Now, the key for both offenses is going to be protecting your quarterbacks because, and specifically from the Lions aspect, you've lost a couple of key offensive linemen, right? If I look into their depth chart right now, oh no, they have their main offensive lineman back. Never mind. So they have their healthy offensive line. So and it looks like they're getting some of their defensive pieces back as well, including Alex Anzalone. That's going to be a huge boon for them if he comes back. But yeah, so definitely going back to what I was saying, the Vikings pressure rate and ability is not radically increased since week 5, but they definitely have increased since week 5, and that's key to understanding what the Lions scheme is going to be against this Vikings defense. I predict probably a lot of max protect, a lot of play action, and it turns out Lions have the best, surprise, they're the best in the league at or they're one of the best in the league at EPA per play in terms of play action. I think they're right behind Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. So Jared Goff is right behind Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. But they use
the Bengals just punted. The Steelers have the ball with 5 minutes and 54 seconds to go.
We'll see. So yeah. Going back to Jared Goff in terms of play action efficiency. Yes, he's the third most effective quarterback in terms of play action, but they use play action the most amount of snaps in terms of the entire NFL, and that's roughly like 40% or like 35% of all plays are play action plays, and that's significantly higher than what you see across the league in terms of the league average.
Yep.
So that's definitely something that the Vikings defense can be attacked with, especially if you use max protect plans, like 6-7 man protections, and you run play action off of those. Lions are killers in that scheme. So I expect a lot of play action. I expect heavy emphasis on the running game. And you saw, even against the Packers running game, it was pretty effective. I think the Packers got, if I go back to this game, they had a total of, the Packers had 104 yards of rushing on 24 attempts. So it was basically around 5 yards per attempt, 5 yards per carry. So it's definitely effective. That you can definitely attack the rushing game, this rushing defense from Minnesota, and I expect the Lions to do so. Now, Vikings offensively speaking, so quick passing game is going to be effective against this Lions defense because that's going to keep their limited pass rush at bay, is going to help Sam Darnold get the ball out quickly and get himself in a rhythm. And it shows that in the past several weeks, in the past last half of the season, actually, while the Lions have been top 5 in terms of rushing success rate, when you look at dropback EPA per play, they're 19th in the league. And if you look at success rate, they're 14th in the league. So clearly they're not immune to a good passing attack, and the Vikings clearly have a very fantastic, a very positive passing attack. So I would expect a lot of a major shootout here between the Vikings offense and the Lions offense. And the Vikings offense, I expect Sam Darnold to have like 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns at least. Justin Jefferson to probably have a big game because, yes, the Lions do have some good safeties and nickel corners in Brian Branch, but and Terrion Arnold. But when you look at outside corners, they have Amik Robertson, the Kindle Veldor. Brian Branch would probably play nickel, so you have Terrion Arnold on the right side. So expect Justin Jefferson to be moved around a lot by Kevin O'Connell and create a lot of explosive plays based off of that. So yeah, I definitely see this as a shootout, and I see the score being 41-40. But I think the Vikings win because they end up
upset.
I don't think it's necessarily an upset because I think the Vikings are just that good. I think it's honestly it's like 1A, 1B if you were to choose between these two teams.
True.
So both are pretty evenly matched against each other.
Oh wow! Big penalty. Penalty on Pittsburgh on offensive holding, 3rd and 15 at the Cincinnati 33.
So but it was an incompletion, so it's 4th and 15.
No, 3rd and 25. They're going to
why would they not take the penalty?
I have no idea. Zach Taylor's an idiot.
That's so dumb. What are you doing?
I have no idea.
All right. So yeah, that's it for me.
And with this, I have to choose the Chiefs versus the Broncos because the funniest thing could happen. Carson Wentz, one of the greatest QBs of all time.
Oh, right.
In the modern day NFL, is going to start for the Chiefs. Imagine the Chiefs beating up a healthy, full, rested Broncos offense and defense that are fighting for it. They kick the field goal. Wow, Steelers. I don't know about this.
It's a 54-yard attempt.
Good shit. Good
oh,
kick.
That's why he took the penalty.
Yep.
Because it would have been in field goal range. Oh, and Boswell drills it down the middle. He could have made that from 60 plus.
Nice. And I'll continue with this. So I think I'm not going to say a lot because I think we do have some Chief starters that will be out. Mecole Hardman, Jalen Watson, Isaiah Pacheco, Jawan Taylor. And for now, they're going to say no Mahomes, no Kelsey, nor Kareem Hunt. And on defense, the Chiefs will be resting their linebackers, top corner, Pro Bowl interior pass rushers. So I think they're considered doubtful in the injury report, like Nick Bolton, Kareem Hunt, George Karlaftis, Travis Kelce, Justin Reed, Drew Tranquil, Trent McDuffie, Chris Jones, and Pat Mahomes. But so it looks like it'll be like a bunch of backups playing against a full loaded Denver Broncos. I'm not going to say stats I missed because here's the thing for the Broncos. And I'm going to keep it easy and short, and I'm going to swear. Just win the fucking game, and you're in.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
That's all you have to do.
If the backups are giving a hard time for you, no No excuse. No excuse whatsoever. And I'm not going to talk stats. I honestly don't think I have time to talk about it because, like, the Broncos, I'll sell this. Their defense is underrated. Well of a turnaround for Sean Payton's team. And Bo Nix, he's the future of this Broncos team.
Bengals just got the kickoff return to the 45-yard line.
Yep.
Bengals just need like 30 yards and they'll win. They just need a first down.
Offense.
Yeah, they just need a first down at that point. Alrighty.
Yeah, and I think with this being said, like, if I'm the Broncos, first thing you have to do is you gotta attack Carson Wentz. He may not be the same guy that he was like when we first got him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the downfield throwing ability is something that you can keep an eye on, but Pat Surtain playing, I think he should definitely have this good. And then looking at the pass rushers, I think like with Chris Jones and Karlaftis being off, I think they'll have like a lot more guys for like Felix Anudike-Uzomah, more snaps for him, and and of course, by the way, Bo Nix, not only can he run, he can throw, he can run. Apparently, he has the 5th most first downs rush for amongst quarterbacks this season. And I mean, and I mean, like, I would expect Steve Spagnuolo to play heavy on defense, like just load the box, give no room, and probably have his linebackers. And also DJ Humphries, he's gonna be back for this game, so tune up for him. And for corner, it's gonna be and Jalen Watson. He's going to be coming back in limited capacity, so that's good. And the backfield rotation, maybe we see more snaps from Samaje Perine and Carson Steele, so I would not be surprised by that. And Broncos have a good run defense, so that'll be an interesting battle to see. I think with this being said, it's going to be I think the Broncos will win this game. I think, and I hope, but if they don't, and if the Jets manage to beat the Dolphins, this will be the funniest thing ever. The Bengals will come back and win this game. Because I think the Bengals are one of those teams that can beat the Chiefs.
Yep, I agree.
And I think that I'm going to say Broncos win 20-17. And a game-winning field goal, not being blocked.
Not being blocked. We'll see. We'll see if the Chiefs' devil magic holds up there.
Yeah. And also, I would like to end off with that note. Speaking about college news, I want to say, first of all, my thoughts and prayers go out to the victims in New Orleans after that tragic, after what happened.
Terrorist attack.
Yep. Unacceptable. And I also want to congratulate our college football semifinalists. It's going to be painful for me to say these two teams, though, but I got to say, first, congrats to Notre Dame and Penn State. And the painful ones, Ohio State and UT Austin. Oh, man. I'm rooting for the Meteor to win against Ohio State and UT.
Also,
and,
Joe Burrow just got sacked. And it's 4th down. And
oh,
the Steelers
my
are going to get
Lord. Oh, my God. We're about to see some black magic. But also, again, I mean, Texas Tech, good season, but you lost against Arkansas. So, and also, I want to get, and apparently there's one college that's kind of growing on me, Michigan, apparently. And I want to shout out to Kirsten and her team, Michigan, for not only doing the most impossible thing, being an 8-5 team. I'm going to say it's the funniest thing. That has beaten Ohio State and Alabama twice in a row in back-to-back seasons. Like, damn. Oh, man, that's a low.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say one thing. Tyler Warren, Ashton Jeanty, and I like that Matthew Golden. The Eagles can get him at the later rounds, later first round. That definitely helps out the number 3 position. I do like it. I don't like the Jahan Dotson trade. I'd rather take Matthew Golden with me and pair him up with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Oh, love it.
All righty. So that's going to be it for us today. If you guys have enjoyed, please leave us a review at one of the 4 podcast platforms that we host our podcast on: Apple, Google, Spotify, and Pocket Cast. Or send us an email at nflmasala@gmail.com, spelled as NFL MASALA @gmail.com. Or Rakshak.
You can find us on our following social media platforms. First of all, we're also on YouTube. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I believe Ananta's already mentioned that. And before I move along to social media, I also want to give a special shout out to my boys, the Soup Boys podcast members like Cozy, Rico 2, aka Twizzy, and Coach. And by the way, Cozy does have a website. So for any Eagles fans or those that are interested in buying his merch, check out Cozy's Corner at cozybryant.bigcartel.com. Description, I'll mention it. I'll put it on my story just to promote this stuff. It has some really good products. I do like the Bird Gang tees, and of course Quinyanamo Bay. So these are one of my favorites. I'm just shooting it out, and that's the end of my sales pitch. But in regards of social media, we're also on Twitter /X, Instagram, and Threads, all under the same username at NFL MASALA2022. That is at NFL MASALA2022. And also, I want to give a shout out to the boys from 4th and John, allowing me to come to one of their tailgates for the Cleveland Browns home game. And of course, Pete Nathan. Shout out to Pete Nathan with the Pete Nathan podcast. Hopefully, we can collaborate sometime for the playoffs and all that stuff. So, and of course, Soup Boys. Thank y'all.
All righty. Now we're going to hit you guys with our signature outro. Go Pack Go.
And fly, Eagles, fly. Take care and have a good night.